Hey, what's up guys, TechTime here, and this is your buyer's guide towards a Motorola phone. And Motorola has released some really versatile options this past year. The most recent one was the 2026 Moto G Play, which I'm including in this kind of Motorola's buyer's guide just because it's one of the phones that came out this year, even though this phone is meant to be for next year. But that's a conversation for another day. Now I have here 5 Motorola phones. The 6th one, which I don't currently have, is the 2025 Moto Razr, but we'll still talk about it later on in a video. Now, basically beginning with sort of I guess we can talk about the most recent one that came out, which is the 2026 Moto G Play. And this is one of the phones that's I don't really recommend right now just because of the price that it has. So it comes in at $180 and provides you with a 720p display, a familiar Motorola design, and you can see from the lineup, the design is going to be very similar on all their devices. The more improvements are towards internals and the features that each one of these phones packs. Now this one has a 720p display, which is disappointing. No wireless charging, only 18 watts of fast charging, and you also only max out a 64GB of storage. The performance is questionable, but I do have a full video dedicated right in the description below, and that goes for all these phones here. So that's the 2026 Moto G Play. I don't quite recommend it yet, but it makes it towards the Motorola buyer's guide. Now the next one is a kind of a hot topic for me. It is the 2025 Moto G 5G, and it's an improvement upon the previous generation. So it brings in a more kind of complete design. So it still also provides you with this sort of vegan leather material, and you get a better camera, but you also only max out a 720p as far as the display goes. Now the price for this phone is $149, which is such a fantastic deal. So that's why I don't quite recommend the sort of $180 Moto G Play when you have the phone with the same specs, the slightly better camera, and even more storage coming in at 128 gig. And it does have splash resistant, not quite water resistant, but this is one of the phones that I can see myself rocking if I want a kind of a secondary daily phone that I'm going to be using more for lighter tasks. Now let's put this to the side. The one that I think a lot of people should go ahead and buy if you want to keep it under $200 would be the 2025 Moto G Power. And as the name implies, it takes the same formula from the Moto G and improves upon it. So you get a proper 1080p IPS LCD panel, you get a better camera system, a military certification as far as environmental protection. So this phone does support IP68 water and dust resistance. It also has a faster charging speed, a wireless charging capability, and it's also in general a much more complete phone than something like the 2025 Moto G. Now I would spend the extra $50, to be honest with you, if you're looking for more of a complete device. So that's something that I highly recommend for people. So at $199, it's a fantastic deal. The MSRP on it was $299, but you can get it now from the Motorola website, Amazon, for $199. You're in the market for sort of a higher step up. Something like the 2025 Moto G Stylus would also be a fantastic option. This phone, when it first came out, it came out at $399. Right now you can get it for $299, and essentially you get a similar spec sheet to that of the Moto G Power. However, you get more RAM, you get 256GB of storage option, and also you get a built-in stylus that you may or may not like, or you may or may not use. But honestly, I used it for a week, then I forgot it was there. But it's such a nice tool to have if you're in the market for that. On top of that, you get a much improved camera system. So the camera on here is definitely better than the Moto G Power, the Moto G, and the Moto G Play. So that's something to also note. On top of that, you also get a AMOLED display versus the IPS LCD panel that is found on the Moto G Power, the Moto G 5G, and the Moto G Play. So an OLED screen and in-display fingerprint sensor, faster charging speed, and also again you get a wireless charging capability. More flagship feeling device than the other Motorola devices I've just talked about. So that's also something to note. So if you can bring your budget to $300, this is definitely going to be a fantastic option. Now, the next in the conversation is actually a fan favorite, and it's definitely one of my favorite budget phones of the year. And this phone right now comes in at $399, which is the 2025 Moto Edge. This phone is the most complete Motorola phone that is in this lineup here. Now, you get 64 watts of turbo power, fast charging speed, 5200 milliamp hour battery, and the battery life on here is really good. You also get his sick camera system with a lot of features. You get the curved display, you get military spec certification, IP68 water and dust resistance. You also get this curved display, and on top of that, you get a more complete phone with 8 gigabytes of RAM, 256 gigabyte of starting storage, and a truly mid-range processor. So all in all, this is definitely a phone that I highly recommend if you can up your budget to $399. And honestly, like I said, the 2024 Moto Edge was my phone choice of the year for the budget smartphones. The 2025 Moto Edge seems to be the clear winner in the budget smartphone awards that should be coming up next month, so stay tuned for that for sure. When this phone came out, it came out at $649, which that price point kind of competes with the OnePlus 13R, and the OnePlus 13R does have advantage over the Moto Edge. It's a fantastic option, and I definitely am hyping it up because it's worth the hype. Which one would you recommend if you're in the market for a Motorola phone? Would you opt in for the standard Moto G that comes in at $149, or spend $49, get a slightly better version, which is the Moto G Power with a better display, wireless charging capability, and slightly better performance? Or would you go all out and actually spend some money and get the 2025 Moto Edge? Now, an honorable mention would be the 2025 Moto Razr. If you're in the market for a flip device, the Motorola website and Amazon, they have sales on their Motorola Razr lineup. Now, I do recommend the Razr Plus instead of the standard Razr. Yeah, it is a $50 more option, but you get a more flagship device specs and more flagship performance. So with that being said, I want to thank you all so much for watching. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, leave a thumbs up, make sure you subscribe, and I will definitely catch you guys in the next one. Thank you guys so much for watching.